You wake up, you check your phone, you scroll for 20 minutes before you have done a single meaningful thing. By noon, you have been busy for 6 hours and produced almost nothing. By evening, you are exhausted, but not from work, from noise, from decisions, from the relentless, formless chaos of a modern day that has no shape, no beginning, no middle, no end, just a continuous blur of urgency and distraction. Now, imagine a different kind of day. A day that began before the sun rose. A day structured around 5 fixed points that divided time into purposeful blocks. A day where rest was not a reward for productivity, but a scheduled part of it. A day where community was not optional, but built into the architecture of every single hour. This was not an ideal. This was Tuesday for a Muslim scholar living in Baghdad in the year 900. And the research suggests it may have been one of the most cognitively optimized daily structures in human history. Let's start with what everyone already knows. 5 prayers. 5 times a day. Most people outside the Muslim world see this as a religious obligation, and it is. But what it also is something that modern productivity science has been desperately trying to recreate for decades. Fixed temporal anchors. Researchers studying peak human performance have found consistently that the human brain does not thrive in open-ended, unstructured time. It thrives in bounded, focused blocks separated by clear transitions. Gloria Mark at UC Irvine has spent years studying how humans manage attention and time. Her research shows that without external structure, humans default to reactive behavior, responding to whatever demands attention most loudly. Not what matters most, but what is loudest. The 5 daily prayers created something modern productivity systems spend thousands of dollars trying to engineer: a natural time blocking system. Fajr, before dawn. Zuhr, midday. Asr, mid-afternoon. Maghrib, sunset. Isha, night. 5 transitions, 5 moments of complete cognitive reset. 5 times every day, a Muslim stopped everything, stood in silence, disconnected from the noise, and returned to the day with a reset nervous system. Modern neuroscience calls this a pattern interrupt. Ancient Muslims called it salah. But prayer was only the structure. What happened between the prayers was equally deliberate. Al-Ghazali, whose Ihya Ulum al-Din remains one of the most comprehensive guides to Muslim daily life, documented the ideal daily schedule of a scholar in his era with remarkable precision. Fajr to sunrise, personal reflection, Quran recitation, light movement. Sunrise to Zuhr, primary intellectual work. This was the peak cognitive window, the time for writing, for teaching, for solving problems. And this aligns almost exactly with what modern chronobiology has confirmed. The human brain's prefrontal cortex, responsible for complex reasoning, creativity, and decision-making, peaks in performance in the late morning hours, roughly 2 to 4 hours after waking. Ancient Muslim scholars had no word for chronobiology, but they scheduled their most demanding intellectual work at precisely the moment modern science would recommend. Zuhr to Asr, the Qaylula, as we explored previously, the midday rest. Documented in prophetic tradition, confirmed by NASA in 1995, 26 minutes improves performance by 34%. Ancient Muslim scholars were not napping out of laziness. They were optimizing. Asr to Maghrib, secondary work, administrative tasks, community obligations, trade and commerce, lighter cognitive demands, matched to the afternoon energy dip that modern chronobiology has documented precisely. Maghrib to Isha, family, community, conversation, the social fabric of daily life. Maintained. Isha to midnight, the scholars read, they reflected, they wrote, and then, as Roger E. Kurtz documented in his 2001 research, they practiced what every pre-industrial human practiced: first sleep, then waking, then second sleep. The biphasic architecture running underneath the Islamic daily structure like a hidden foundation. But here is what most people miss when they study Islamic daily life. It was not individual. It was never individual. Every one of the 5 prayers ideally prayed in congregation. The marketplace a social institution as much as an economic one. The masjid, not just a place of worship, but a community center, a school, a court, a library, a gathering place. Every day, a Muslim in 9th century Baghdad interacted with their community in structured, intentional ways multiple times. Pauly Weisner's 2014 research in PNAS documented how storytelling and community around the shared space was essential for human psychological health. The ancient campfire that Weisner studied among the Juhwansi Bushmen served the same function as the mosque courtyard in medieval Baghdad, a shared gathering point where stories were exchanged, where problems were solved, where the individual was reminded they were not alone. Robin Dunbar at Oxford University identified what is now called Dunbar's number, 150, the maximum social group the human brain can maintain meaningful relationships with. Ancient Muslim communities were structured around exactly this scale: the local mosque congregation, the neighborhood, the extended family network. The human brain's social capacity filled deliberately and completely every single day. Modern humans have thousands of social media connections and have never felt more alone. There is a hadith documented across multiple Islamic sources that states, "Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave." This was not metaphor. For scholars of the Islamic Golden Age, this was a daily practice. Ibn Khaldun, whose Muqaddimah is considered one of the earliest works of sociology and historiography, wrote that civilizations rise and fall based on their relationship with knowledge. Communities that prioritize learning daily grow. Communities that stop decline. In 9th century Baghdad, the House of Wisdom was not just a library, it was an institution where scholars from different cultures, different languages, different traditions gathered daily to translate, debate, and build on each other's work. Greek texts became Arabic, Persian astronomy became accessible, Indian mathematics crossed into Islamic scholarship and eventually became the numerals you use today. All of this emerging from a daily culture that treated the pursuit of knowledge as a religious obligation, not a luxury, not a hobby, a duty. Modern research on human flourishing consistently shows communities with high rates of learning and intellectual engagement report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction, psychological resilience, and social cohesion. The scholars of Baghdad did not need this research. They had built their civilization on the same insight 14 centuries earlier. We look at the modern productivity crisis, the burnout, the distraction, the exhaustion, the loneliness, the formless days that feel simultaneously too busy and too empty. And we spend billions on productivity apps, wellness programs, and attention management systems desperately trying to engineer what ancient Muslims built into the architecture of an ordinary day. Fixed anchors in time, cognitive work matched to biological peaks, mandatory rest without apology, community woven into daily structure, not scheduled for weekends when there is time, a daily obligation to learn something. These were not religious innovations, they were human ones, discovered by a civilization that understood, long before formal science existed, that how you structure your day determines what kind of mind you build and what kind of civilization grows from it.